Being a dad is hard. It's high stakes. It takes a toll on our self-worth, mental health, and can be lonely. But why would we ever want to do something so important in isolation? Legacy Makers, a conversation for dads, is quite simply two normal dads having conversations about, you guessed it, being a dad. The highs, the lows, and the learnings along the way. We are four dads. We want to remedy the deficiency we see in community for dads, and we want to ruthlessly encourage dads on their journey to build lasting legacy for the faces they love the most. All right, Kev, we're back. We still don't have our breakfast, we still don't have our coffee, but we're back, man. We did the first one. You had such a good time. I thought it was all right. You promised me the next one would be better, so we're back. Man, listen, we talked a lot last episode about legacy, and in all honesty, it was great. I really enjoyed that piece of it, but one of the things that came out in that conversation that we kind of hit on a bunch, we didn't go deep on, is community. So I think today, really want to dive into that with you. And, I think we're fortunate enough that, I would say you're in my tribe, you're part of my community as I think about people that I can call on, that I want to connect with, learn from, get better from, and just do life with. But as we think about where we're at in life, unpack a little bit further. What is community? Why do we need it? Man, love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah. First of all, I think community is not just like a bunch of people around you.
Yeah.
You can have you can have a lot of connections or a lot of friends and still not be in true community. Both you and I read a book that Mike Lynch led us through in separate groups called Spiritual Leadership. Mm-hmm. And there was a quote in there by John Gardner that really, I think, sums up what true community is. And John Gardner said this. He said, I pity the leader. Okay, not Mr. T. I pity the fool. Okay. I pity the leader. I love this. Caught between unloving critics and uncritical lovers. So basically saying, I feel sorry for the leader who's caught between these two types of people. The first is unloving critics. I mean, these are people that just criticize what we do. They don't like us. They're negative. We all have people like that in our lives, unfortunately. Hopefully we can get rid of them. And then on the other end, he says uncritical lovers. Sometimes depending on our success at work, we can end up with people like that. They claim they like us, but they tell us what we want to hear and not what we need to hear. And so I think true community is, do we have people around us that tell us both they encourage us when we need it, and they also give us a kick in the butt when we need it too. Like, that's the kind of community we're talking about creating. Especially as a dad, I think we need that.
I love that. And then the other thing I think is also true, I don't know about you, when I hear the community that I am in, or this is a group of folks, I think about a large number of people. Yeah. To me, as I started to think further about that, I don't think it's about quantity, right? It's not about, hey, there's 20 people, 30 people, we got 200 guys coming to Legacy Makers every month to talk about being a better dad. Community, as we think about trying to surround ourselves with people that are making us better, that can give us encouragement, but at the same time really push us and hold a mirror up to our face when we need it. It could be one person. It could be two people. But my gut tells me the majority of the guys listening to this probably are in that camp of, look, I got a bunch of friends, but are they really able to go deep? To me, the power of community is going to be determined by the depth at which you can get into your life and do life with, right?
Okay, I got two thoughts, and I want to hear your response to them. First of all, I think for an older generation, they may have pushed back. I'm not talking about specifically dads. Like, they may have pushed back on this idea that we need community. Mm-hmm. Like, much more of the Lone Ranger type, like, man up, put your big boy britches on, like, you can do this. I think, I could be wrong, but I think for people our age with younger dads, we don't have to maybe convince people as much that we need community. I feel like we see that more. What's your take, yes or no?
I think so, but I think you need to be vulnerable to take the step. Yeah.
Remember, I told you I hate that word, vulnerability.
I know. Kevin's like, look, we're gonna have these conversations. All right, so tell me a word that you'll be okay with me without rolling your eyes.
Well, no, I think transparency, authenticity. Right. Just more of, I do think we need to be vulnerable. But when you look it up, it's like vulnerable is like to be exposed to the point of being harmed, and I think that's probably part of the the negative stereotype for men is like being vulnerable means you're going to be exposed.
Well,
and
dude,
it's like,
for me, when going through my personal situation when I was at the depths, I felt very vulnerable to reach out the phone and be like, because I was going to be exposed to the point of being harmed. Because to me, at the time, and that's what we're trying to really break down, I had an ego. I mean, we all have egos, but at the time, my ego was at a level of like, I cannot allow anybody to know that I'm going through something that could completely alter my life, the view of me. So I agree with you. Look, we're both corporate guys. The vulnerable piece is a little bit, so I'm with you, but I do think vulnerability is something that is important as you think about building community because again, we grow up idolizing the Lone Ranger and Batman. We grow up with our parents celebrating the successes that we have, whether it's in sports or music or school. It's all achievement based. Nobody typically had a dad, at least, my circle, that was really unpacking, hey man, how you feeling? Let me tell you about what I went through. I went through, it's just something that it's, I think we're more aware of it as a generation. And I think our kids are going to be even way further ahead, but it's on us to take the step to build that community, right?
So for you, it was a moment that happened, or maybe a couple moments that we talked about last time that led to creating this community. So at some point, I think every one of us will realize we need community. But even when we realize it, it's not like we just flip a switch and we have community. Like just because I'm like, oh, now I need this, you can have a bunch of friends. I guess my question is like, what I have struggled with, we're in this community. Like we were friends before, but we're in this community because you initiated a conversation with a group of guys in your basement. What are the roadblocks? Like why? I'm trying to think, why would I not have done that before? I didn't do it. You did it.
Well, no, I think, listen, we kind of danced around this transparency. I won't use the V word with you again. But I do think you got to push through the awkwardness that we have grown. There is a pressure on men that like everybody's fine. Give me a little high five. We're gonna go play golf, grab a meal, have a beer, but we're not going into feelings. We're not going into the struggles. And I think realizing that everybody's going through this and taking that first step and pushing through the awkward. Because I remember when we set out to grab a bunch of guys, sit in a basement once a month and go through real life things and have a conversation like this. That first connection was so awkward. You can ask Brittany. Like I was anxious about it for weeks. And she's like, these are guys you've known for 30 years. They're your brothers. They're your new friends that you have. What are you worried about? Like, how am I going to talk about this? How are we going to talk about things that are beyond, hey man, how you doing? Like doing well at work?
Yeah.
My son scored 22 points in the basketball game. So I think the first step is you got to push through what you believe to be a barrier or awkwardness because somebody is waiting for that.
Yeah. We have to call out those roadblocks. We got to acknowledge them. Like I'm thinking of a few, like ego, you mentioned already. Mm-hmm. Ego is like, we don't want people to see that we're not what we hope they think we are.
Yes.
Pride, I think, is like letting people in closer, similar to ego, but it acknowledges like a gap. And then I think time is an obstacle. Like I can imagine when we start to think about creating this, like where does that fit in the schedule? Like work, I got church, I've got the schedule of my kids and gymnastics and baseball and flag football and like where does this fit in the schedule? So
yeah, I think what doesn't get calendared doesn't get done. I think you have to have real good alignment with your spouse, your significant other, because there needs to be a maturity and support from that end. My schedule is full as yours is, as many of those who are listening. When I told Brittany that you and I were going to not just do breakfast once a month, but we're going to sit down and do a podcast, her first reaction was like, really?
This is Laura's first reaction too. Like, where does this fit in the calendar?
And I've got you and I will say we're tied for having the best wives because they're going to be 2 of our 5 or 6 listeners. So like, we love our wives. But that was her first reaction. She's like, "All right, so you're coaching both boys in basketball. The girls just turned 4. You travel 2, 3, 4 nights a week. Like, so, and you're doing a podcast with Kevin."
Yep.
Right. And my pride and ego was like, "How dare you?"
Yep.
Of course I can do it. So yes, all those things. Time is a great one, but you have to have that alignment with your partner to ensure that they realize the importance of it, man. Like, because it is important. Community with other guys is super important. I was reading this article. This was from a survey, the Survey Center on American Life. So this was May of 21. So I think these numbers have gotten worse because this is middle of the pandemic, and I think we've gotten further separated. 48% of men reported feeling satisfied with friendships. So less than half. The scary thing is now 1 in 5 men, when asked, "Do you have a close friend?" One close friend that you can talk to. 1 in 5 said absolutely not. 25 years ago, the same survey, 3%.
Yeah.
So you think about that number going from 3% of respondents 25 years ago said, "You know what? I don't have a close friend," men.
Yeah.
And now we're at 20%. So 6x. And that delta is going to continue. And again, it goes back to this conversation about the importance of community.
Yeah. There was a C.S. Lewis quote one time. He said, I'm probably going to butcher it, so whoever Googles it can figure out it's wrong.
C.S. Lewis is not going to be happy.
Yeah, C.S. Lewis is going to be very upset with me. He said something to the effect of, like, friendship is like art. It has no survival value, like, meaning you don't need it to survive. But then he says this, but it's one of those things that gives value to survival. So he's saying, like, you don't need it to live, but if you don't have it, like, your life feels pretty empty and pointless. So I think we've got coworkers, we have our kids, and we have our wives. But we desperately need community in addition to that. What I'm trying to figure out is if one of my buddies comes and asks me, "How do you do this?" Like, what is your take on the first step? Here's my take. You've got to be awkward so that the other people don't have to be. Like, you have to choose to be the one that's awkward. Because the first time, there's no way around it. You're like, "Hey, man, I want to have hey, should we have conversations about our feelings?" Like, that doesn't sound very... It doesn't sound very cool.
It doesn't sound cool. I think you've got to realize that, to me, I go into solve mode all the time. I think I've got to tell myself, I got to take the first step, right? I got to be authentically who I am. And I also don't need to solve. If someone's opening up and wants to share, they're not necessarily saying, "Eric, fix this for me." And and this is, one of the big challenges that if I had to rank why Brittany and I get into every once in a while, have a disagreement, it's because I'm in solve mode all the time. She's like, "Hey, 4 kids, crazy day. Here's the thing." And I'm like, "Here's what we got to do." And I don't need you to solve my problem. I need you just to listen.
Yeah.
Right. And so, you ask how to do it. Again, this is not rocket science. People need to disarm their minds that this is a bigger deal than it is. But it's critical. You've got to take a first step. It's okay to be awkward. I guarantee you, everybody listening to this can resonate with the fact they can think of a guy's face that they are very close with. And like me, again, I've got 3 buddies I've known since 3rd grade. We're going on a golf trip in a couple weeks. We just went for our 40th birthdays. We went on a Disney cruise with all of our families. We wanted to go to Pebble Beach, and our wives are like, "Absolutely not. We're going on a Disney cruise." But those were the guys that I've visualized before we kind of connected in the basement of like, I love these dudes with everything. I know everything about them, but maybe not. And it takes that kind of step to just say, look, we need to talk about some things here. And it doesn't have to be the whole conversation. We can hang out for 4 hours playing golf, maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, but don't have to spend 4 hours talking about feelings, but you got to take a step,
Okay, girls are better at this than guys.
By a long shot.
I'm going to read a line, and let's beat this up for a second. Ready? Here's this line. We don't have real friends because we aren't real friends. We don't have real friends because we aren't real friends. I think that goes along with what you're talking about, taking the first step. That doesn't mean I want to do it.
Doesn't mean you want to do it. Well, you saw that quote you wrote it down. You didn't tell me about the quote, and you just read it. So you're going to tell me why you wrote that down and thought that was worth talking about.
To me, I've got to figure out how I take the first step to invite this. And in some ways, I have to realize, okay, a lot of times when I'm trying to be the real friend, I think I'm doing it for them. But the truth is, I've got to initiate because at some point, I'm going to need that community. Like at some point, I'm going to be on the receiving end. I'm going to need the help. Somebody speaking into my life. I've heard that friendship is really built around 3 things. So 3 things that, like if we don't have this, it's not real friendship. So the first is constancy or consistency. Like this happens over a period of time. Like we're not going to build friendships on like, hey, once a year we're going to go to a men's retreat. There's got to be something that happens at a regular basis.
I agree with that.
The second thing is like a carefulness, which just means like I'm not gonna take what you said and use it against you. Like some of this is the same things that are true for our marriages, but like I'm not gonna like when you share something with me, weaponize that and be like, man, are you feeling anxious again? Like, what's your deal? Because that's what we do. We make as guys. So consistency, carefulness, and then candor goes back to what we talked about. It's authenticity. It's transparency. It's like speaking the truth they need to hear. So I think we need all those. And I just want to bring it back to this for a second. We need these so that we can be the dads we need to be. This can seem like this is just for us, but I believe if we don't have those type of friendships, we will not be able to build the legacy and be the types of dads that we truly need to be.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I think, again, community, and back to kind of the tongue-in-cheek conversations that we were talking about Brittany and Laura, this is not about, I need a guys' night, right?
Yep.
It's not about that. It is about truly getting better in community with folks that are thinking about the same thing and trying to figure this out. I remember as we did Legacy Makers over at North Star Church, it was incredible to me the first night to see 150-ish guys just roll in. Not sure what they were getting into, but there was something about the content and the conversation and the topic that resonated, right? And so again, we have to understand that those groups are going to help sharpen and help get us better. Those 3 C's that you mentioned, I think they're all spot on.
Which one do you think is the most important?
Listen, I mean, I resonate with all of them. I think the consistency piece was a really interesting. As you mentioned that again, I go back to my experience with my buddies and my brothers. Like we've got that. But if you don't open up, right, to me, candor is the one that is the unlock.
Yeah.
So you've got the consistency, right? You've got the carefulness and the candor. To me, the candor is the ingredient that's going to accelerate the community that you're going to be within. I said it earlier, community is determined by the depth at which you end up getting to in the relationships, in the conversation. So the candor's the unlock in my mind.
What do you think about, like we both have incredible dads. When we think about our legacy, one of the things I want to think about is how do we model this community for our kids? Yeah. I think about my 2 sons in particular, because like I said, I think typically guys are worse at this than girls. How do we model? I'm trying to think what that looks like. Like I feel like I need to do a better job when I'm going to Legacy Makers. Like I'm just realizing this about myself. Like, hey, I'm going to church tonight. I'm going to this thing. Like I need to probably tell my children why I'm going to do that and why it's important. I think that may be a gap for me.
I think that, so you'll remember coming down to the basement, my boys would run down there.
Yeah.
And what are you doing with your friends, Daddy? And you're right. Like just having that conversation of this is what we're doing. Your dad has some friends that we meet once a month and talk about you. We talk about how we get better for, your buddy Deacon and as his dad was there. And I think we just need to take that extra step. I don't think it's, again, a very sophisticated thing. I don't think it's something we need to wrestle. How do I do? I really think it's that extra step. So like you said, when you go to legacy makers. Or this morning I was, hanging out with the kids before, and where are you going? And I'm like, I'm going to go have a conversation with Mr. Kevin. We're going to do this thing. And I think just modeling that, but also taking the extra step to make sure they know exactly what it is. Because you're right. They need to see you and I, our boys especially, what does a model of friendship look like? Mm-hmm. And if all they're seeing is buddies come over and watch a football game and throw stuff at the TV when we watch the Falcons, that's all right. But I think that's that. And then the one thing that we didn't touch on for me, I'd love your thoughts on it, an output of a healthy community is encouragement. And so as you think about that word, as a dad, as all the things piling up on you, how important is encouragement to you and where it comes from? Like the deliverer of that, right? The deliverer of that.
Yeah. We both are familiar with this. Truett Cathy, the guy that founded Chick-fil-A, used to say, how do you know if someone needs encouragement? And his answer was, if they're breathing. Mm-hmm. So I think we can acknowledge everybody needs more encouragement. I also think that is not just that's not the love language between a couple guys. Like the way that we most of the time show our friendship is through sarcasm and making fun of them. So I think this goes back to this being awkward piece. We've got to find outlets. This doesn't mean all the time we've got to just send encouraging texts, or we can't make fun of our friends when their team loses. But I think there's an intentional step that we've got to take to say, at certain points, I've got to switch out of the mode of just funny and making fun of them and say, man, I want you to know, you're doing a good job, or, this is really important. And it goes back to that, us being awkward so that they don't have to be. I think that'd be my encouragement, too, to guys, initiate the first step. They may not be starting a group at their church or in their basement, but could they have one conversation with one friend that's about hey, I'd love to get together with you and talk about being a dad and what we're trying to do.
Yeah, two things I think to wrap. I think first, I really believe community is the currency that we're going to purchase the encouragement we need as dads. Listen, thriving relationship with your spouse, vital. I can go on and on, but the community in which we're building around us with folks in the same life stage, it's really the currency that we're going to purchase the encouragement that we need. I think it is so important. And again, it does not, it's great. It's not 30, 40, 50. It could just be one person, right? But we have got to go and be encouraged to do the things that we need to do. And I think as dads trying to get better and build a legacy at home, it's an important ingredient that hopefully all of our listeners are thinking about enhancing if they have it, and building if it's absent today. And that would be the big push, I would say, is think about those faces that are closest to you. What is the depth of y'all's relationship? And take a step to build it. Go a little bit deeper and go a little bit deeper. And again, you're not going to walk around always talking about, but you do need that every once in a while, someone to say, hey, dude, I see you. People want to be seen.
Yeah.
There's a few things as people, human beings, scientifically we need. We need to be seen. Yeah. And this is, your community can help, I think, activate that.
Yeah, here's what I'm taking away. You can't decouple community from legacy. Being an intentional dad does not happen in isolation in your house. You got to have the community, and I love that it's the currency we use to get the encouragement. So, man, this is a lot of fun. I feel challenged on this, so I think we should do it again.
We should do it again. Go text somebody, tell them how you're feeling. Show your feelings.
Right, be vulnerable, right?
I need you to be vulnerable. All right, we'll talk to y'all next time.
Thanks for listening to Legacy Makers with Kevin Scott and Eric Blumenthal. Make sure you download and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
This podcast is a production of BG Ad Group. All rights reserved.